Hey guys, this is Grace and welcome to my channel and welcome to another card video. Remember at the beginning of the month when I told you guys that I had all these farm animals images that I had stamped and colored that I was going to use for later in the month? Well, this is the time I'm going to create with them. I am pulling out one of my favorite, and I mean that with all, like, this is really my favorite stamp of all time, I would say. I've used it so many times, but it's the Lunar Animals from Mama Elephant, and it's just a perfect size for small animals and small images. And plus, I have this little container, plastic container, that I have just been throwing things in as I've, have extras of. I wanted to use this up. So basically, this is kind of a hodgepodge of things, items in my stash that I wanted to use up. And my hope it's as much of them as I can to put on cards. So I'm just going through the things that I have in this little container. It's amazing how much stuff I have in this container. As you can see, I'm still pulling things out, and I mean, they're mostly paper, so they're pretty flat stuff, but I did not realize how much stuff I have in this little container, and so I'm hoping to use them. And then remember these, I created them in my die cut or in my silhouette because I really like those frames that I've been seeing, but I wasn't ready to invest in a die cut or in a frame die, and so I had made them and I'm pulling them out. So again, this layout is just a hodgepodge of things that I wanted to use up in my stash. Also, I forgot to mention, I had printed off a bunch of sentiments that went with the kind of the farm barnyard theme that I was using for these animals, and I printed that, I want to say 2 years ago, and I just printed off like 2 sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper with just a bunch of these specific sentiments that would go really well with it. And now I'm pulling them out. I did some major cleaning a few weeks ago and discovered all of these little treasures that I have been keeping in my scrapbook space, and I felt like they need to be used up either on a layout or on a card. So that's where most of them are. This video is going to be focusing on using them up. So I have this card base that's like two-toned. Well, actually it's not two-toned, it's more like ombre, where the darkest color is on the bottom, and then it goes light. Now on one side it was pink, and then on another side it was green, and I thought the green side was perfect for the background for this particular card because I had wanted, again, those grass. I don't know if you remember, but I did a layout with, I believe it was the For the Love of Crafting and Sharing. So that would have been 2020. And that would have been, I want to say, September of last year, where I had created this layout. And I used some grass. Was that layout? I can't remember, but I think it is. Anyways, I used some grass for like a border for the particular layout, and then I had some leftovers. So I am using that here. I'm using a couple of them just to create the grass on the bottom, and then I'm having the animals on the top. I don't know, I thought that this could look like kind of like a barn. You know how the barns have like a big door on the front, and then sometimes they have windows on the second story of the barn. So that's kind of what I'm going for this particular one. But I have added the animals there, and then I used Howdy from the Herd as my title. So that's going to be card number 1. And here's some close up to that. It's very, very simple. And again, I'm just using stuff that I already have. So these cards went by pretty fast. The only thing, of course, is the stamping and the coloring, which I happened to do while I was at work. I had one of those planning periods, and I had some time, and so I brought these images. Well, I stamped them on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, and then I just brought the respective Spectrum Noir markers that I thought would work well for them. And so I colored them while at work, and then I also cut them during that time period as well. So lots of ways for me to craft or create as I go, but I also have to remember that the items that I'm going to bring has to be kind of fairly small size in order for it to fit my bag. So with this one, I use the kind of the frame, no, what is it called? The edge die cut from Simon Says Stamp. It has different edges, like you can make hills, you can make like waves or like snowbanks, whatever it is. And I'm trying to make some hills, and I used some green pattern paper for my grass or my hills. And then I have this paper that already has clouds on it, which I thought was perfect. And I'm actually going to use that on two different layouts, or two different cards rather. So this is card number 1, and I just used 2 cows because the sentiment that I used was "Holy cow, you're how old?" And I thought that was kind of a fun pun. Of course, I would make sure that I pick the right person to send that card to, because I don't want to offend anyone, but I know I can give that to like my sister or my brothers and they wouldn't be offended. Well, not too much anyways. And then so we're going to go on to card number 3. This one is very easy, just lots of layering of pattern papers here. I am going to use, my focal point for this card is that kitty cat, which I thought is really cute. I did have a scallop circle just to make it stand out against that very colorful diagonal paper. I am going to ink up the edges of that just to make the definition between the scallop and the paper behind it. And then I'm going to use that sentiment saying happy per day, and I thought that was really cute. And I did cut that with a die cut. I have these die cut strips. I think it's from that same blueprint set as my scallop rectangle, and so I really like that, and I'm going to add that there. And I will trim that border, the red dot paper as my border. I'm just doing that as the last part of my card making here. And that's card number, where are we at now? Number 3. Okay, so here's some close-up for that. I could have used some glimmer or shimmer pen for the cat, but I just forgot. Here is the other block that I was telling you about that I want to do, like the cloud paper that I wanted to use. It's going to be here in card number 4. And again, this is going to be an easy one. I have a hill that I created with some pattern paper, and then I'm also going to be adding some grass because why not? I have it, so I'm going to have a hill and then some grass as well. And then I'm going to add 3 different kind of farm animals here, already cut, stamped, colored, and cut. And I think there might be a die cut to match this this stamp set, the lunar animals, but I just hand cut it. I think it's fairly easy enough that you can do it. And then I love that sentiment, it's always more fun when we're together. And I thought that that was really cool. You know what I should have done? I should have had them all clump in one part of the meadow that I was creating here, because then that would really emphasize the theme of that it's always more fun when we're together, because I feel like they're all spread apart. But anyways, that's what I did here. And so if you want to recreate this, maybe you can have your animals go closer together. So these cards are my way of using up my stash. I hope that this inspires you to do the same with yours. As you can see, there's lots of pattern papers here, and I had again that little container that I wanted to use up items from. This one I am going with a more subtle design for the background pattern paper. I thought that this kind of watercolory type of paper was really good. It looks like I did it, but I really didn't. And then these scallop and regular circles, or parts of it anyways, were left over from my layout that I created, many moons ago. at least a year ago. I can't even remember, maybe even more. And so again, I just wanted to use them up, and I thought that they would be good visual triangle for this particular layout. And then or card rather, and then there's this puppy that have been stamped, colored, and cut, and then it's going to go with the sentiment, sending puppy kisses and birthday wishes. So that's going to be that. Again, fairly easy. You're just seeing me basically just glue all of these items together because there was a lot of prepping that went into these cards, and so I didn't show that in the video. Now I'm going to go with this circle frame. Again, I did this with my Cameo, and I wanted that frame look that I've been seeing, but I didn't want to invest in the die, and I just used my electronic die cut machine. I did put that with that watercolor paper. Again, I love the subtlety that paper gives. It's not your like solid color background, so it still has some interest, but it doesn't take away too much from the foreground or whatever I wanted to be in the front. And because it's there's the circle pieces, I felt like it lends itself really well to have, you know, some of the animals peeking through from the circles. I'm going to try to tuck them in as best as I can, but that's kind of the plan that I'm going for this. Now I will be trimming this piece just because it's a little too wide and a little too long for my card base, which is going to be a craft card base, but I'm not too worried about it being a little too short. It's actually, I think sometimes it's good for your card base to be a little short, because then it will fit seamlessly, that's what I'm trying to say, into your regular envelope. So I have 4 animals here. I thought that I could use one for each row. And I'm just tucking them in, and I'm having a hard time tucking that guy in, but I think I'm going to figure out that I can like lift it up with, I think I'm going to use a tool here pretty soon. Because yeah, my nails are just not long enough. Oh, I guess I won't use a tool. But sometimes I use a craft knife just because, you know, just to pry the edges of it, and it will come out, and it works pretty well too. So if you want to try that, you can, you'll be able to open up the circles a little bit more on the sides and then tuck in your animals. And then just because it feels like, I don't know, it just feels like this card was missing a little bit something, I'm going to add some pen lines all around in between those circles to emphasize the grid of this frame here. Now you don't have to do this part, but I just felt like it needed that. I don't know, let me know in the description box below. Should I have just left the frame as is, or was adding some pen stitching good? Now, I guess you could do some actual legit stitching on this, but these days I don't have time for that. So I'm just going to do some pen stitching and call it good. All right, so that is my card, and here are some close-ups. I did add some cork hearts, hearts that's like shaped in apples. I know it's kind of weird, but it's apples with like heart in it, just because I saw that in my little container, and I thought, you know, why not add those? So I did add a couple of those there. Now this one, again, is going to be a fairly easy card. The main focal point is a cat or a kitten. And I'm just layering a bunch of pattern papers here. I decided to go with this red paper because it reminded me of like farmhouse type of feel. And so I'm adding that there as my main pattern paper background piece. And then I will be layering some more of these blocks of paper together to create my frame that will hold my little kitty. Now, I also discovered some of these circles. I think I had cut out the circle with some stitch die, and then decided that I don't like the stitching, and so I cut out another circle. So then I was left with a frame, a really skinny frame with stitching on it. And so I am going to use that to further emphasize my little kitty. So I'm going to add this black strip of paper first. And then I'm going to add my circle. I'm going to use some liquid glue to this just because it's really skinny. If I try to use my ATG gun, it would just go all over the place. So I'm going to use that, and then finally add my kitten. And then also my sentiment, which is I'm itching to spend time with you, which is, of course, I felt like it was perfect for this creature right here. So I hope that you guys have liked the videos that I have shared this month. It's been really fun creating them. I hope that I will be able to make more videos for you guys in this next few months. It's kind of crazy, you know, because we're getting closer to the end of the year, and so there's a few more craziness that's happening in work at work, you know, at all the end of year stuff, but I'm hoping that I will have time to still create the content that I had planned on creating in this for this channel in the next few weeks or so. All right, so let's move on to this card. Now this has, I'm starting off with a blue background. It's very subtle, but it just reminds me of, like, you know, blue skies and whatnot. So that's going to be the background. And then again, I have some more of these grass die cut. And if I were smarter, I should have done that top one first instead of trying to sneak in the top one against the bottom. But, you know, you live and learn. And I have some more leftovers and I want to use it up. So I'm trying to make my grass a little bit fuller by adding some more of these cut up grass. And again, if you notice, these are just cut up from that same strip, but because my base is shorter than the strip, I was able to add a few more of that there. Okay, so now I'm going to go with an orange card base, and because my pattern paper front is, of course, taller than the card base, I got to trim that out, and I just used a pencil just to kind of eyeball mark where I want it to be cut so that it will at least be straight. And then I'm going to center that, and I have a couple more animals. I guess if I really wanted to, I should have added a little bit more, I mean, a few more animals here and there, but the two was enough. I thought that that was a really good kind of number for this sentiment that says you're a true friend. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to ink the edges to make it stand out. I'm using a Color Box dark brown ink for all of my inking. And then after I've done this, I discovered that I had a star again in that little container. That was a container that seemed like it was a bottomless container because it had so much little stuff in there. But I found the star and I adhered that to the top. And then this one, I don't know if you guys remember, I was trying to use this snail from my card in the beginning of the month, but I ended up not using it. So it went over in one of the cards here. And I didn't have a video for that. I apologize. But anyways, those are my cards. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys another day. Bye.